The entire Edo State is under siege by bandits and by terrorists and by headers. We have terrible pictures of people who have been murdered in cold blood, men and women. In fact, someone's compound has been turned to a graveyard. And to support this motion. But first, I want to acknowledge that from all the reports we have received in recent times, it will appear that our security forces are doing extremely well, and they are making a lot of progress, such that part of the country that were not safe before are much, much safer now. At least we had that much from an event that we both attended just last week. So we must commend the armed forces for what they are doing and encourage them to see how they can expand the operation to cover the whole country. Like Senator Neda stated in the motion, it is not only in Ovia. In fact, it will be more correct to say that the entire Edo State is under siege by bandits and by terrorists and by headers. We have terrible pictures of people who have been murdered in cold blood, men and women. In fact, someone's compound has been turned to a graveyard by terrorists and bandits. We have tried to talk to the local security forces. Many of us have had to fund some local vigilante group, but I am convinced that the way to go is in the manner that that is very well captured in this memo, namely, while commending the
distinguished colleagues, please, those who are making phone calls should stop.
Neda, even you?
Chief Whip, those who are making phone calls should stop.
So, sir, for protecting small people, those of us who are vertically challenged, sometimes we have difficulties being heard. But, Mr. President, you are fair to us. So, in supporting the motion, I want to commend the National Security Advisor and all the security chiefs and urge them to extend, exactly as captured, this
Sorry, may I once again observe that those who are making phone calls should stop.
Also, sir, if I draw your attention, the chairman of the Security Committee is not on his seat and is engaging Senator Yahaya and preventing him from listening to us.
Colleague to stop making phone calls while proceedings are going on.
He has gone to convince them to come here.
The Senator Abuba will approach the chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, like Senator Neda said, this is the farming season. It's already raining. Rains have already started in Edo State and I believe in part of southern Nigeria. This is the time our farmers go to farm. And with the level of killings and banditry and kidnapping in Edo State, most of our farmers are now not able to go to the farm. And therefore, I urge my colleagues, distinguished senators, to support this motion, commend the National Security Advisor, commend the service chiefs, and urge them to extend this special, I think the name is very well captured here, which is a combination of a special task force with all necessary gadget and motivation to go to Edo State to wipe away the criminal, because it will appear that as we make progress in the north, the bandits are moving towards the south. And it is important that they are caged. Otherwise, very soon, between Kogi, Edo, and Delta, we are likely to witness more serious banditry as a result of the progress that is being made elsewhere. So, Mr. President, I urge my colleagues to support this motion with this additional amendment that it is the entire Edo State. In fact, it will interest you that Senator Mondo Peolo, Governor Mondo Peolo, just last week told me that one of his local government is now inaccessible because of the level of banditry. Even though he's doing his best to provide security, more vehicles, more communication gadgets to the armed forces in Edo, but it is not a substitute to having this special team that can only be coordinated by the National Security Advisor. Thank you, Mr. President.
The only professor.
Life is priceless. Life is priceless. Protection of life and properties is a constitutional matter, Mr. Senate President. And the current president, the present government, is investing heavily on issue of security. In the last budget, about 300 billion naira was set aside for the armed forces to protect life and property. And I think the federal government is doing their best. But I want to say in support of this motion that the state governments must come up with their own thesis. What is their thesis for security? Like distinguished Senator Oshiomole have just given us a reiterate of the narrative from the governor of Edo. It's so disappointing that states are not formulating policy actions to protect life and property in their states. It's not enough to buy vehicles. What is that supposed to be? We need modern technology about security. The state must invest in security. Edo cannot say that they are helpless in assessing a particular local government or thereabout. As the federal government is making effort and the services are making efforts, let the state government come up with proactive measures, Mr. Senate President, in protecting life and property. Having said this, sir, I also want to urge your presidency to let the Senate run a very important national conference on security. Let's do intervention. Because what I have discovered in respect of Nigeria is that individuals and corporations are not even investing in their own security. If a man collects a salary of 10 million naira per month, he's supposed to put 1 million on his own security before any other thing. And this security, Mr. Senate President, is multifarious and multidimensional. Some are coming in form of food security, which have no solution. Some are even coming in form of threat of the environment. But what we're having now is bandits and all that. And I think we need to resolve this. I will suggest, in support of this motion, that we need to embrace new technology. This is very important. If the states are not doing enough, the Senate must give the state some knowledge intervention about security.
The Senate notes with grave concern the urgent necessity for federal intervention in the wake of the brutal and coordinated assault on farming communities in Edo South Senatorial District of Edo State, an attack that resulted in the significant loss of lives, grievous injuries, widespread destruction of property, and the mass displacement of residents fleeing for safety. Also notes that on February 21, 2025, assailants launched a violent and indiscriminate attack on the agrarian communities in Ovia Southwest and Ovia Northeast local government areas of Edo State. The communities affected are Colombo Camp, Belamonte, Maridoti in Ovia Northeast, Silico Ward in Ovia Southwest, and other affected settlements, leaving the inhabitants traumatized and dispossessed. Aware that the reports attributed the attack to armed militants from nearby creeks who have allegedly been persistently accused of encroaching upon farmlands, looting produce, and unlawfully extorting farmers through coercion and intimidation. Alarmed that intelligence and eyewitness accounts suggest a deliberate pattern of aggression against these communities, and if unchecked, such lawlessness will continue to threaten food security, economic stability, and national cohesion. Concerned, therefore, that while the Edo State Police Command has officially confirmed 7 deaths and 6 casualties, local sources indicate a significantly higher number of fatalities, reflecting the urgency for comprehensive federal intervention. Mr. President, may I also update here that as of last count, over 22 persons have been killed. Concerned and while convinced that pursuant to Section 14(2)(b) of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government, therefore mandating the federal government to act decisively in protecting the lives and properties of its citizens. And also convinced that pursuant to Section 2172C of the Constitution, the armed forces of the Federation are empowered to suppress insurrections and act in aid of civil authorities to restore order in situations of grave security threats. Accordingly resolves, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, urge the federal government to deploy additional security personnel, including military and specialized tactical units, to restore and maintain law and order in the affected communities. Establish a permanent military base in the region to serve as a deterrent against further incursions and ensure sustainable security. Cause an in-depth investigation into the circumstances surrounding the attack, ensuring that the perpetrators are apprehended and brought to justice. Formulate a long-term strategy to address recurring issues of land disputes, illicit extortions, and intercommunal conflicts through legislative, security, and policy interventions. And also urge the relevant humanitarian agencies to render assistance comprising of food supplies, medical care, and temporary shelter to cater to the displaced and affected persons. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I sincerely urge the Senate to please support this motion so that we can at least bring some peace in that area of my state, and to also stem this tide of aggression that seems to be perennial in that area. This is my motion, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, thank you.
Distinguished Senator Adams Oshiomole.